Let's talk about a seismic event that just completely redrew the map of the global energy market. It's a wild story of incredible risk, almost unbelievable opportunity, and a high-stakes billion-dollar bet on one of the most volatile countries in the world.
Okay, so picture this. The date is January 3rd, 2026. It's a single day that ends up sending shockwaves from Wall Street all the way to Riyadh, and it changes absolutely everything, basically overnight. Out of nowhere, in a pretty stunning military operation, the U.S. arrests and deposes Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Just like that, the entire political landscape of South America is altered, probably forever. And with that one single action, the whole energy sector gets thrown into a brand new era. Now why? What's the big deal? Well, it all comes down to what's buried deep under Venezuelan soil. And this is where you really start to grasp the insane scale of what we're talking about. See, Venezuela isn't just another country with oil. It is sitting on the largest proven reserves on the entire planet. That's more oil than even Saudi Arabia. For decades, all this incredible wealth has been locked up by political chaos. But now, that door has just been kicked wide open.
Okay, so we've got this massive shock to the system. What does that actually look like for the markets, for the companies on the ground? Well, the first ripple effect was immediate, and it sent a very clear signal about who was going to be in charge.
The political signal could not have been clearer. The U.S. president comes out right away and says that American companies are going to lead the charge, promising billions in investment to rebuild the country's totally crippled energy sector. So you see, this isn't just an opportunity. It's basically a state-sanctioned gold rush. And, in any gold rush, there's always someone who got there first, who has a head start. In this story, that company is Chevron. They've been playing the long game in Venezuela for years, and it might be about to pay off in a way that nobody could have possibly imagined.
Here's the thing you have to understand, and it is absolutely crucial. Chevron never really left. They are the only major U.S. oil company still on the ground there, which gives them this incredible, unbeatable advantage. They could go from being just a minority partner to basically running the whole show. And get this, they could also settle billions of dollars in old debt by taking direct ownership of the oil fields. I mean, that's like adding massive reserves to your company's books for free.
And it is a big if, but if Chevron can pull this off, the price is just staggering. Its reserve life, that's how many years it can keep producing oil with the assets it has, could jump by 20 to 30 years, almost overnight. This would make it, without a doubt, the most future-proof oil company on the planet.
Okay, so this all sounds amazing, right? A once-in-a-generation opportunity. But it's just not that simple. There is a massive, massive catch hiding behind all of this optimism, a huge risk.
So before we go ahead and crown Chevron the big winner here, we have to flip the coin over and look at the other side. Because the risks here are every bit as big as the potential rewards. The message from the new U.S.-backed administration is pretty clear. Sure, you can have your assets back, but you have to fix the country first. And the price tag for that is just mind-boggling. Rystad Energy thinks it'll take over a decade and $110 billion. That's more than a third of Chevron's entire value, just to get the sabotaged infrastructure back to where it was in the 1990s. So this is the enormous dilemma that Chevron and its investors are staring at. On one hand, you've got this incredible potential for billions in new cash flow, a generational boost to your reserves. But on the other hand, there's a very real danger that you're just going to be dumping cash into a bottomless pit of repairs, completely destroying the financial discipline that your investors love.
Now look, Chevron is obviously the star of this whole drama, right? But they are not the only players on the field. The ripple effects from this are going to be felt across the entire energy supply chain.
To understand who the next winner might be, you've got to know a little something about Venezuelan oil itself. It's not that light, easy-to-process stuff that everyone loves. No, it's what they call heavy, sour crude. Just think of it like thick, gunky tar that's loaded with sulfur. It is a real pain to handle, unless you've got exactly the right kind of equipment.
And it just so happens that companies like Valero have that exact equipment. Their huge refineries on the U.S. Gulf Coast are basically optimized for this specific kind of crude. So for them, this is fantastic news. They can swap out more expensive, heavy oil from Canada or the Middle East for this cheaper stuff right next door. And analysts think their profit margins could expand by as much as $4 per barrel. For a refiner, that is a huge deal.
So where does the biggest player of them all, ExxonMobil, fit into this picture? Well, you just have to look at their market cap. At over $500 billion, it just dwarfs everybody else.
So while Chevron's out there making this huge, high-risk, high-reward bet, Exxon is like this giant, stable battleship in a volatile sea. For investors who are a little nervous about the Venezuela gamble, Exxon is the safe harbor. They are the bedrock of the industry.
But this is where the story takes a really fascinating, almost paradoxical twist. What if winning in Venezuela is actually a curse in disguise? What if all this success could actually backfire on a global scale and end up hurting the winners?
Okay, here's the paradox. The global oil market, right now, is considered pretty well supplied. There isn't some massive shortage. So, what do you think happens when you suddenly unleash the potential of the world's largest oil reserves onto that market? You could create a massive supply glut. And basic economics tells you what happens then. Prices could go down and stay down for years. And this isn't some abstract academic risk. No, this hits Chevron directly where it hurts, its bottom line. For the very company that's set to win the most, every single dollar that the price of oil drops means a 33-cent drop in its earnings per share. So their biggest win could end up systematically eroding the profitability of their entire global operation.
So that's where we stand. Chevron and the entire oil industry are really at a crossroads. Is Venezuela the greatest oil play in a generation, a chance to secure energy dominance for decades to come? Or is it a trap, a bottomless pit of cash, and the trigger for a global price crash? The only thing that's certain is that the world is about to find out.